The night Amara Okiki left her baby behind, the sky over Aba wept like it knew what she had done. She had just turned 19. Her face still carried the softness of youth, but her heart had already hardened. The baby, a boy, cried softly in the shawl she had wrapped him in, unaware he was being given up. She left him behind the St. Dominic's Catholic Church, beside the old mango tree. There was a plastic bag of baby clothes, one bottle, and a tiny note that said, "His name is Obinna. Please forgive me." And then she ran. She didn't look back. She told herself it was the only way. She was too young, too scared. She didn't know the father well, and she had bigger dreams. Dreams of wealth, of a Lagos life, of silk gowns and men who opened doors. A few months later, she met Chief Anayo Okike, a wealthy businessman with oil money and a fragile ego. He liked her quietness, her beauty. She liked his status. They married quickly. No one ever asked about her past, and she never mentioned the child. 20 years later, in Lagos, the name Obinna Eze echoed through boardrooms like thunder. He was young, just 27, brilliant and already a billionaire. He had grown up in Aba under the care of Mama Ifeoma, the woman who found him crying behind St. Dominic's. She was a midwife, poor but kind. He didn't know he'd been abandoned until he was 15, the night Mama Ifeoma told him the truth. It burned inside him. He worked harder than anyone else, built an app that saved hospitals money, sold it, then built another. By 25, he owned one of Nigeria's biggest health tech companies. At 27, he acquired Okiki Holdings, a failing conglomerate buried in debt. It was just business. He didn't know that the woman who once left him to die now lived in the mansion that came with the acquisition. He didn't know she was Amara Okiki, still beautiful, still cold, still hiding, but fate was watching. Because one rainy Monday in Ikoyi, as Amara poured wine for a visiting new owner of her husband's company, she looked up and stared into eyes that looked too much like her own. Eyes she had forgotten. Eyes that remembered everything. Amara Okiki's hand froze in midair, red wine trembling in the glass she held. Across the long glass dining table, the new CEO of Okiki Holdings, Obinna Eze, sat tall in a black suit, speaking to her husband, Chief Anayo, about restructuring, assets and debts. He was calm, polished, dangerous in the quiet way that only men with real power are. But Amara wasn't listening to his words. She was staring at his eyes. Dark brown, sharp, deep set, the same shape she saw in the mirror every morning. The same as the baby boy she had left in Aba 2 decades ago. No, it couldn't be, could it? She placed the wine glass down and excused herself. Her heart was racing, her breast shallow. She barely made it to the guest bathroom before her knees buckled. In the mirror, she looked at herself. Age had been kind to her, but now her beauty looked like a mask, painted over guilt. She splashed water on her face. "Get a grip, Amara," she whispered. "It's just your imagination." But when she returned to the dining room, Obinna looked directly at her and smiled. Not warmly, with recognition. She forced a smile back, but something in her stomach twisted. Did he know? Had he come to expose her? Destroy her? Later that night, after their guest had gone, Chief Anayo yawned and poured himself a drink. "Sharp young man, that Obinna," he said. "No father, no connections, yet look at what he's built. A true street-to-sky story." Amara sat stiffly on the sofa. She stared into nothing. "Where did you say he's from?" she asked. "Aba, I think," Anayo said. "Some orphan-turned-genius, tech boy, America-trained. You women love that type of bee." She didn't laugh. She barely breathed. Across the city, Obinna sat in the back of his black SUV, fingers tapping against his knee. His assistant, Kene, looked at him. "That dinner was cold. The madam didn't seem too pleased to meet you." Obinna's eyes stayed on the rain sliding down the window. "She was nervous," he said simply. "You think she knows who you are?" Obinna smiled slightly. "She's wondering, but I want her to remember." He pulled out his phone and opened a photo, a scanned, wrinkled note. "His name is Obinna. Please forgive me." The handwriting matched the woman who poured his wine tonight. He hadn't come for revenge, not yet. He had come for truth, and truth always makes the guilty sweat. Amara barely slept. Every creak in the mansion felt like footsteps coming to drag her secret into the light. Chief Anayo snored beside her, oblivious. But her mind was wide awake, chasing memories she'd spent years trying to forget. That note, the baby, his eyes. She sat up trembling. Her chest was tight with panic. If it's really him, what does he want? Meanwhile, in a quiet hotel suite in Victoria Island, Obinna poured himself a cup of tea and stared at the documents on the table. Old hospital reports, church records from Abba, a DNA test he had taken years ago when he was only curious, not angry. He had done the math. The dates lined up, the handwriting matched. It was her, Amara, his biological mother. He had no plan to ruin her, not yet. He wanted her to live in the same confusion she had thrown him into, that silence, that shame. But he wasn't here just for her. He was also watching Chief Anayo, the man who had lived in wealth, while he ate beans and soaked Gary as a child in Abba. The man who had built his empire on fragile pride and failing oil deals. And now, Obinna owned it all. Later that afternoon, at the Okeke mansion, Amara made a quiet phone call to her cousin Uchenna, a pharmacist in Abuja. "I need something," she whispered. "What kind of something?" he asked. "A sleeping aid, strong, untraceable." There was a pause. "Is everything okay, Amara?" "No," she said. "He's back." Uchenna exhaled. "You mean the boy?" "I'm not sure, but I think he knows." Silence. Then Uchenna said, "Amara, you did what you did to survive. Don't let your past control your future." Her voice was flat. "It already is." That evening, she sat in her garden with a glass of wine, staring at the koi fish pond. She didn't notice Obinna standing by the gate until he cleared his throat. "Beautiful evening, madam." She jumped. "Mr. Ease, you startled me." He smiled gently. "I was nearby, thought I'd drop by. We didn't get to speak much the other night." "No," she said, gripping her wine glass. "We didn't." He looked around. "Lovely home, almost too peaceful." Her fingers tightened. Obinna stepped closer and held out a small envelope. "I found this in a church in Abba. Maybe you recognize the handwriting." She didn't take it. She didn't have to. Her eyes filled with tears. He leaned in and whispered, "We both know you're not crying because of the note." Amara didn't speak. She couldn't. She stared at the envelope in Obinna's hand, her chest rising and falling like waves in a storm. Her mouth opened slightly, but no words came. She looked like someone facing a ghost. Obinna tucked the envelope into her lap. "I'm not here to make noise," he said softly. "I just wanted you to know. I know." Then he turned and walked away, just like she had walked away 20 years ago. She sat frozen, the note pressing into her thighs like a flame. That night she didn't eat, didn't sleep. She reread the note 100 times. "His name is Obinna, please forgive me." The writing was youthful, shaky, hers. The truth had returned, tall, rich, calm, and now holding her future in his hands. By morning her lips were dry, her skin pale. Chief Anayo knocked on the bedroom door. "You've not come out. Are you sick?" She wrapped herself in a shawl. "It's just heat." He grumbled and left, but her mind was racing. Obinna didn't want attention. That scared her more than if he'd shouted. He didn't want apologies. He wanted power, and now he had it. At the office that day, Chief Anayo's personal assistant delivered a sealed letter. He tore it open, confused. Inside, a legal notice. Obinna's company was freezing the family's luxury accounts, citing an audit of misappropriated dividends. Anayo's eyes widened. "What nonsense is this?" His assistant swallowed. "Sir, he owns controlling shares now. He can legally—" "Shut up." He threw the letter on the desk and stormed out. At the same time, in a boutique hotel in Ikoyi, Obinna sat across from Kene, his assistant. "She hasn't said anything yet," Kene said. "No calls, no press, just silence." Obinna sipped his tea. That's how guilty people operate. Quiet first, then desperate. "What's your endgame?" Kene asked. Obinna's jaw tightened. She left me. No letter, no visit, no nothing. He opened a folder. Inside was a scanned photo, Amara, years ago, with Chief Anayo and a toddler. Not him. Everyone thinks she's a perfect society wife, but she threw her own child away like trash. Kenny hesitated. Do you want to ruin her? Publicly? Obinna stared at the window. No. I want her to ask me for forgiveness. Would you give it? Obinna didn't answer. That evening, Amara stood in her kitchen, still holding the note. She looked at the garden. She looked at her husband. Then she looked in the mirror and saw someone else. Someone she used to be. She picked up her phone and dialed Obinna's number. The phone rang twice before Obinna answered. His voice was cold, measured. Yes? There was silence on the other end. Then a soft, breathless, "It's me." He didn't respond. Amara stood in her walk-in closet, her arms wrapped tightly around herself, as if she could hold her shame in place. She looked around at the designer bags, the heels, the silks, all the things she once traded for freedom, and now they felt like chains. I don't know how to start, she said. Start with the truth, Obinna replied. She took a breath. I was scared. That's not truth, that's an excuse. Amara's eyes stung with tears. I was 19, no mother, no help. The father denied the pregnancy, and I was working in a salon just to survive. Obinna said nothing. I didn't hate you, she whispered. I hated myself. I didn't know how to raise you in the life I had. So I gave you away, hoping someone kinder would find you. He spoke slowly now. They did, but they had nothing. Mama Ifeoma sold food by the road. I wore hand-me-downs. I watched other children go to school while I hawked sachet water. Her sob escaped before she could stop it. I used to wake up thinking I heard you cry, she said. But it was just my conscience, haunting me for years. You don't know what it's like to bury a child that's still alive. Obinna clenched his jaw. Do you want forgiveness? He asked. No, she replied. I want to be honest, for once. He listened. I married Chief Anayo and buried my past in his money, she said, but the guilt never left. Every time I saw a boy on the street, I saw your face. Obinna exhaled. You had other children. She hesitated. No, my womb refused. Maybe it was punishment. Silence again. Finally, Obinna said, I'm not here to punish you. She closed her eyes. But I'm not here to be your son either. Her heart broke. I just wanted to tell you, she said, voice trembling. I've watched every interview. I kept your newspaper clippings. I knew who you were before you knew who I was. A pause. Thank you for surviving. Obinna's voice cracked slightly. I didn't survive. I fought. There's a difference. And then he hung up. Amara stood in her closet. The call ended. Her face wet. Outside, the sun was rising, but inside her, night remained. Obinna sat alone in the rooftop lounge of his hotel, watching the Lagos skyline flicker with lights and quiet storms. He hadn't slept since the call. The voice of Amara, his mother, echoed in his head. Not the words, the weight, the way her silence cracked, but pain doesn't vanish just because someone finally speaks. He remembered sitting by the gate of Mama Ifeoma's house at age 10, wondering why other children had mothers who came to pick them after school. Why his school form said orphan when he knew he had been left, not lost. And now here she was, wealthy, beautiful, still wrapped in silk and secrets. She said thank you for surviving, but she wasn't there when it mattered. His assistant, Kenny, arrived quietly and handed him a folder. The full audit. Chief Anayo's company used ghost accounts to fund private estates in Dubai and South Africa. He's been bleeding the company dry. Obinna nodded. Do we have the legal grounds? Kenny's voice dropped. He'll lose everything once we file. Obinna leaned back, his voice low. Make him sweat, freeze the shares, but don't strike yet. Kenny tilted his head. You're hesitating. Obinna looked out at the city. I'm choosing what kind of man I want to be. The next morning, Amara woke to find an envelope on her front step. No name, no seal. Inside was a single photograph. A baby boy wrapped in a faded cloth beside the old mango tree behind St. Dominic's Church. The back read, "He deserved better, but you didn't ask." Oh. She held the photo against her chest. Her tears were quiet this time. Not for pity, for loss. In Aba, Mama Afioma got a phone call she hadn't expected. "Obinna, I need to come home," he said. She smiled into the receiver. "Then come. The house is still yours." Hours later, he sat at her table, eating hot jollof rice, and for the first time in weeks he smiled. Real, small, soft. Mama Afioma watched him quietly. "You look like your mother," she said, "but not the one who left. The one who raised herself after. The one who found her way back to her own shadow." Obinna didn't respond, but something inside him shifted. He was still angry, but less hollow. That night he wrote a letter to Amara, not to forgive, not yet, but to speak. "You gave me a name, that was all. I gave myself everything else, and now I choose who I become." The headlines hit like thunder. Obinna Eze acquires Okiki Holdings, family ties revealed, billionaire's mother identified as former society wife Amara Okiki, power couple evicted as son reclaims legacy. Chief Anayo Okiki smashed the newspaper against his office table. Security had escorted him out of his own company that morning. Staff whispered. The board had voted. He was finished. At home, movers were clearing out. The Okiki mansion, with its marble floors, golden stair rails, and 10 bedrooms, now belonged to the man he never knew was his wife's son. Obinna. Amara stood by the door, suitcase in hand. She looked smaller now, not just in status, in soul. "We'll be staying in a flat in Surulere for now," she said. Chief grunted, poured himself another glass of dry gin. "You knew that boy you abandoned, that he was the same man who now owns my company?" "I didn't know at first, but then I saw his eyes." Anayo paced like a man being hunted. "Amara, we are finished. This boy, this Obinna, he has taken everything." He turned to her, quieter now, almost desperate. "Talk to him. You're his mother, aren't you? Beg him, do something, please." She hadn't heard her husband beg in 20 years. She sighed. "I'll talk to him." He looked up, red-eyed. "Tell him I'm not asking, but I'm begging." Later that night, Amara sat on a plastic chair in a 2-bedroom flat with peeling walls, in silence as loud as shame. She called Obinna. "I need to see you," she said. "Come tomorrow," he replied, alone. At Obinna's mansion in Ikoyi, Amara arrived alone. Obinna sat in the lounge, dressed in white, calm as always, but his eyes burned with pain buried too long. She knelt. "I came not for Anayo," she said. "I came for the boy I left behind." Obinna didn't move. "He wants to keep his house, his company, but I just want a chance to look you in the eyes and say it. I was wrong." He looked at her, expression unreadable. And then he said quietly, "I didn't come for revenge, but I never thought you'd come for me. Either." The next morning, Chief Anayo was waiting at Obinna's gates. Obinna watched from a balcony above, sipping tea. The man who once ruled oil deals now stood like a humbled petitioner. "I came to speak," Anayo said once he was let in. Obinna sat across from him in the study. "I didn't know," Anayo began. "She never told me. But if I had known, maybe I'd have done worse. Or better. I don't know. But I am asking you now. Let us keep our home. Let the company live." Obinna tapped a pen on the desk. "You kept men on your payroll who stole from their own workers. You funneled funds into fake accounts. I have the documents. I'll step down, I'll disappear. But she's not as heartless as you think," Anayo said, quieter now. "She broke herself long before she broke you." Obinna sat back. "You're not asking for her, you're asking for yourself." "I'm asking for peace," Anayo whispered. That night, Obinna stared at the legal folders. Company deeds, property ownerships, power. Then he reached for a blank envelope. He sealed everything inside and wrote one word across the front: return. The rain had stopped falling, but the clouds still lingered. Inside a modest 2-bedroom apartment in Surulere, Amara swept the living room floor while Chief Anayo sat by the window, staring into space. It had been 3 weeks since they left the mansion. Weeks filled with silence, regret, and humble meals cooked on a 2-burner gas stove. The flat was clean but bare. No art, no staff, no chandeliers. Only the hum of a ceiling fan and the creaking of tired furniture. Then a knock. Amara opened the door and froze. It was a courier. In his hand, a single brown envelope. "For you, Ma," he said. She took it slowly, like it might burn her fingers. Inside the envelope, signed property deed for the Okeke mansion in Ikoyi. Keeper documents returning full shares of Okeke Holdings to Anayo. Folded, handwritten note. She sat down slowly on the old brown sofa. Her fingers trembled as she opened the paper. It read, "You lost everything chasing pride. I found peace by letting it go. This is not repayment, it's release. Obinna." She handed the documents to Chief Anayo without a word. He read them once, then again, then slumped into his chair as if his bones had collapsed inside him. "He gave it back," Anayo whispered. Amara couldn't hold back her tears. "He forgave us," she said, the words barely leaving her throat. "No," Anayo replied. "He rose above us." The following day, movers arrived at the Ikoyi mansion, but this time, not to evict, to return. Amara stepped through the front doors like a stranger in her own home. The marble floor still gleamed. The air still carried the faint scent of jasmine from her old candles. She placed a single frame photo of her late mother on the hallway table. "I brought shame," she whispered, "but I'm bringing it back, healed." In the weeks that followed, Amara didn't return to society events. She didn't wear her old gowns. Instead, she signed up for volunteer work, helping young mothers in underserved areas, teaching tailoring, listening more than she spoke. Chief Anayo remained quiet, humbled in a way money could never undo. One evening, he sat with Amara on the mansion's balcony. "You think you'll ever come back here?" he asked. "No," Amara said, "but I think he gave us back more than a house." "What?" "A chance to start again." Back in Aba, Obinna stood beside Mama Ifeoma as builders worked on the new maternity clinic next to her house. He had donated the funds quietly, without press. The workers greeted him like a brother. "You didn't have to give them back anything," Mama Ifeoma said as they watched from her porch. "I did," Obinna replied, "because sometimes healing means returning what was taken, even if they never deserved it." Mama Ifeoma looked at him for a long time. "You may not carry their blood," she said, "but you carry more grace than all of them combined." Obinna didn't reply. He just smiled faintly, watching as the walls of something new rose. Not just brick and cement, but something deeper, something that would last. Far away as children laughed and played around the courtyard of the Ifeoma Foundation, a little boy tugged at Obinna's sleeve. "Sir," he asked, "who gave you your name?" Obinna smiled, knelt down, and answered softly, "Pain gave me my name, but love taught me how to wear it." And as the sky opened with golden light, Obinna stood, walking back toward the center he had built, not from revenge, but from purpose.